You boys be quiet down there!
This time we're taking a break from the main video series, where I've been reviewing every Neo Geo game from first to last, to take a look at a new release. German developer Dev.Team has been producing unlicensed games for Neo Geo since 2006, and their 7th Neo Geo game, Kraut has just been released for 2019 on the MVS, with an AES version due out later this year. First announced 4 years ago in March of 2015, the game has long been in development. Some fans pre-ordered the MVS version and waited 4 years for the game to ship. It's Dev.Team's most ambitious title to date. In fact, they have stated that they want this game to be their masterpiece. Was it worth the wait? Worth the price? Gear up, soldier, we're going to take a look. All of Dev.Team's previous releases, with the exception of Gunlord, have been shooters, and all have been one player only. Kraut is the team's first crack at a Metal Slug style run-and-gun game. Metal Slug clones have been done before, but Dev has promised a true love letter to Metal Slug for fans of the series on SNK's home turf. First of all, let's open the box and see what comes inside. I got the standard MVS version of the game, or what Dev.Team refers to as the Game Center Kit. There's also a collector's edition, which comes with a CD soundtrack, posters, and shock box. But I usually don't spring for their collector's editions, so this is all I've got to show. There's the cartridge itself. Okay, and moving this stuff aside here, we've got some art and instructions here. The collector's edition actually comes with a full-color manual. You do get a nice mini marquee and operator instructions sheet. And how much does this standard edition of the game cost? Yeah, based on the price alone, Dev.Team's games aren't for everybody, but Neo Geo fans are often not your average gamer. Besides, if you consider how much it probably costs to produce new Neo Geo games on cartridge in such low quantities, you really can't expect it to be cheap. My opinion of the name Kraut remains the same as when the game was first announced in 2015. Basically, any other generic shoot-'em-up name would be better. There are certainly much more offensive racial slurs out there, but the term remains just that, a slur. The Dev.Team crew can try and claim license since they're German, and they seem to find the title humorous. At least they were obviously going for a fictional version of Germany, and the name Krautland on the map screen telegraphs exactly that. In fact, you couldn't come up with a clearer name than that. Indeed, the game is German through and through. Even the voices announcing the weapons are in German. It's probably not worth going too far into the story here. The soldier heroes are up against some kind of Nazi stand-ins. Choose between 3 characters and play through 5 levels to defeat Dolph Lundgren, or whatever his name is. Close enough. You'll see a lot of nice detailed art and animation, including an intro with art by Armin Marderoshan, who you may recognize from indie Mega Drive titles Pier Solar and Tanglewood. None of this game was made in Japan, although anime sensibilities are sometimes present in the art style. The graphics are perhaps not quite on the same level as Metal Slug, but the game is up there for sure. Many of the backgrounds are downright gorgeous, with awesome use of the Neo Geo's color palette. Some backgrounds, as well as the beautiful Game Over screen, use heavily dithered graphics, which looked great the first time I played Kraut on a CRT screen. However, when I later tried the game on a digital flat screen upscaled with the FrameMeister, although it was nice and sharp, it just didn't quite seem to do the graphics justice. So since it's unlikely you're watching this review on a CRT, you'll just have to take my word for it. Not only does the game have multiple difficulties and tons of options to choose from, but it offers a choice of 2 different gameplay styles, T mode and C mode. The T mode has a pacing more like Metal Slug, and seems to be the original intended way of playing the game. C mode is a faster paced run and gun version of the game where most enemies only take 1 hit, and bosses die faster. What does the C in C mode stand for? Well, I'll give you a few guesses. In C mode, you also can't use your knife for melee attacks. In T mode, your characters will stab with their knife automatically when close to an enemy, much like in Metal Slug. In order to keep the game length in line with what's typical of the genre, you're able to choose between one of two paths for all but the first and last stages in T mode. Since C mode is faster, there you will get no choice of path, and instead play through all stages of the game. So is Kraut really just Metal Slug, except you can jump down to platforms below, get a boost from standing on your partner, aim your weapon diagonally, and there's an option for a fixed shot? Getting into the finer details then, as in most Dev.Team games, there is a combo-based scoring system. As your meter at the top of the screen depletes, your score multiplier cools down, and when fully empty, your combo ends. There are a handful of different weapons to pick up, and for their part at least, they aren't all direct clones of weapons from Metal Slug. However, there aren't as many weapons as in Metal Slug, and the types of weapons available lack the variety found in Metal Slug and Contra games. There are obvious analogs to some of the Slug weapons, such as the heavy machine gun and enemy chaser. My personal favorite is the three-way shot, because the spread gun is typically my weapon of choice in most of the Contra games. In addition to the weapons, there are 4 different masks for you to pick up, each one providing special abilities, as well as an extra hit. Although they appear too infrequently to be a defining feature of the game, basically these masks change some of your weapon effects and moves, such as jumps or slides. Speaking of that, the slides from Metal Slug 5 and Contra Hardcore are here, except now you can also slide in mid-air. Mastering the slide is important for survival, especially in later levels, since sliding makes you invincible against most shots. Chicks appear for you to grab throughout the levels. These chicks sometimes offer assistance. The chicks are this game's analog for the POWs you rescue for bonuses in Metal Slug. Whether the game is easier or more difficult than the Metal Slug games is a matter of opinion, but so far impressions seem to lean toward the more difficult camp. There are things that make the game at least feel easier at times, like the ability to aim in 8 directions, but certain bosses and some of the last screens of the final level, where the amount of enemies can feel relentless, can be tough and even frustrating at times. One disappointing thing is there aren't as many vehicles to pilot as in the Metal Slug games. The one exception is this walker, which only appears in stage 2-2.
Get away from her, you bitch!
The game performs extremely well. For the most part, you get smooth 60 frames per second gameplay throughout, with only some very minor sprite flickering occurring most often in 2-player mode. It's certainly a far cry from the slowdown found in many older official releases on the console. The game truly is an impressive feat on the Neo Geo. In true Dev.Team form, the game doesn't allow you to access the Unibios menus while the game is running. However, this time they've provided a built-in options menu, which can be accessed by holding the start button when the game boots, which includes a mess of options, like violence settings, difficulty, disabling certain game features, and even cheats, which, when enabled, disable high score saving. Like most of Dev.Team's soundtracks, the music for Kraut was written and produced by Raphael Dill, with guitars by Glass Promises. Count me as a fan of Raphael's work ever since Last Hope was released. He usually does electronic-style music, but Krautbuster's soundtrack is decidedly more rock-oriented, mimicking Studio Aqua's soundtracks from Metal Slug 4 and 5. But electronic elements are still present. Like in all Dev.Team releases, the music you hear isn't created using the Neo Geo's internal synthesizer. The music is pre-recorded 80 PCM. As usual, the music sounds great, but isn't CD quality. And speaking of the music, by the way, great idea including the theme from the 2003 Ninja Turtles cartoon in the boss theme. It must have been an homage to the Metal Slug theme that sounded like the original Ninja Turtles theme. Of course, I'm just being a cheeky ass though, it's a great boss theme. Already Dev.Team has put out an update patch for the game. As in their previous releases, the MVS version of the game can be updated, and when the AES cartridge is released later, that will then be the final version of the game. Except this time around, the cartridge includes an SD card slot rather than a USB port. In the past, Dev.Team's MVS carts needed to be connected to a Windows PC using a USB cable in order to update them. You still must open the cart to access the update slot. The SD card process is much easier. Just put the update file on the SD card, boot the game, and wait 10 to 15 minutes? What in the living? Actually, mine only took around 10 minutes to update. According to Dev.Team, the long update time is actually due to heavy encryption and a slow CPU. A Neo Geo CD version of Kraut has not been announced, which is unlikely given the amount of graphics packed into the game. I'm willing to give more credence to the possibility of a future Dreamcast port being announced, but I wouldn't hold my breath for that either. Perhaps someday the game will see a digital release for newer consoles. So is Kraut as good as Metal Slug? That's certainly debatable, but if you're a fan of Metal Slug, you should enjoy Kraut very much. There's just enough different to make it its own game, while conjuring up memories of some of the best moments of Metal Slug. The graphics look very nice, and it has a friggin' sweet soundtrack. The effort that Dev.Team put in is apparent from the polish throughout. Even if you're not a Slug superfan, Kraut dishes up plenty of quality 2-player run-and-gun arcade fun on the Neo Geo in 2019, as long as you can stomach the price. Thanks for watching another one of Neo Alex Neo Geo reviews. On this channel, I've been reviewing every officially released Neo Geo game one by one in order, or trying to at least. To keep up with the latest videos, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Basement Brothers. See you next time.